I went to a traditional school, which means I got the traditional evolution spiel in high school. I have a vague recollection that not everybody agreed with what was being taught, but for me it wasn't a thing. Felt very comfortable sitting in my pew on Sunday after having talked about Darwin earlier that week. Just wasn't a thing for me. And it wasn't really a thing for me until I started to homeschool, and suddenly evolution entered my orbit. Now, I don't have proof of this, but I think a large portion of the homeschool community homeschools for this reason. They want to teach evolution their way. When I heard about a biology curriculum that actually had 2 textbooks, an evolution secular version as well as young Earth counterpart, I was intrigued. Here was a chance to take 2 textbooks that have the same content but present the information in 2 very, very different ways. A quick word of thank you to CJ and Stephanie for hosting this collab. More on that later. Guest Hollow's biology course is absolutely free and offers a wide variety of resources, making this program well developed and interesting. Just a cursory glance at their rigorous schedule with additional labs and reading really impressed me. But what I was interested in was how did they manage to have 2 curriculum textbooks? So they use the CK12 biology textbook. CK12 is a nonprofit education learning website available for free to help students and teachers alike learn any subject. Reminds me a lot of Khan Academy, and I think it would be fair to say that they are similar in their goals.
All right, let's do this. Polish my glasses first. Oh yeah, that's better. Okay, now let's do this.
So what we're going to do right now is we're going to compare their new free biology textbook with the secular version that's provided by CK12. So let's start with chapter 1. So chapter 1 here on Guest Hollow is What is Biology 1.1 Science in the Natural World. And then if we come over here, we have the same kind of table of contents from CK12. Lesson objectives. Realize that we can know God through the study of His creation. The layout of each lesson is very similar. It starts with a lesson objective. Now, if you are using these textbooks side by side, then this is what you would reference to see what's been omitted and included in the lessons comparatively. It then also includes a worksheet. So Guest Hollow's worksheet is right at the top. CK12's is in additional resources. Now, their worksheets are fairly similar. I think Guest Hollow adds a little more creativity to theirs, but they're both available for each chapter. In addition to this, they also have the vocabulary list, and the Guest Hollow has opted to take all of their vocabulary words and add definitions. This makes an easy glossary for kids to use. If they are reading and have trouble pulling context clues, they can refer back to the top. CK12 just has the list of vocabulary. Looks like the introduction is pretty similar, except the Guest Hollow has added Charlie Brown teaching. Now, before we continue, I want to acknowledge that sometimes you may feel like this while reading through this text. Hang in there. By the end of this course, you'll have learned a lot about the world and how it works. Not to mention, you can sound really smart by saying and understanding words like allopatric speciation. I don't even think I know how to say that. Notochord and terrestrial biome. That one I did. If it doesn't excite you, maybe all the gross dissections and cool and interesting labs will. Guest Hollow has put together an excellent lab, giving homeschoolers a ton of options of things that they can do throughout the year while they're going through their text. Now, I would recommend not doing all of it. It is a lot, but just the fact that they have so many options and that it's all broken down by week, so you can refer to the supply list by week and decide, yes, it's something I want to do, no, I'd rather not, is fantastic. I will say the fetal pig dissection, which is like at the very end, it's a little much. I think that's a little much for my kids. I don't think they're going to be able to handle that. For the topics you find absolutely boring, I at least hope that you understand more about our amazing world God created. Paul says in Romans 1:20. The majority of chapter 1 is a testimony of God's creation with a lot of fantastic scripture references. It is significantly longer than the secular textbook offered, but I really appreciate it as a Christian. It was well thought out. All right, so now we go back to the goals of science. It feels like these are all fairly similar. Scientific ideas can change. Science is more, oh look, okay, so now it does not surprise me. This is the part where we deviate a little bit. It's more of a This section was heavily edited by Guest Hollow, and I think the reason why is because they want to set their students up to question standard science. They give 3 examples of things that science gets wrong. The spontaneous generation, phlogiston, phlogiston, and Marshall canals. And all three of these things are very much outdated science that is acknowledged at not being correct anymore. CK12, instead of acknowledging that science gets things wrong, doubles down and says science usually just needs to take a step back and see the bigger picture. And the truth of the matter is they're both right. We need to view science with some heavy skepticism in order to make some progression. And sometimes we need to acknowledge that this is correct. We just need to look a little bit broader. I mean, we have come a long way since Aristotle and the initial philosophical ideas of what is modern day science now. What used to be medicine is now genetics and surgery and pathology. And so we take a deeper dive into those specifics that is based on a broader idea. Okay, so this is very different. And it feels a little defensive. All right, making observations. You notice the moth has spots on its wings. You think the eye spots make it look like an owl face. Think about them when you're going to sleep tonight. Lesson summary. Excellent. Lesson review questions. Recall. The lesson ends with a lesson review, and it's broken down into 3 parts: recall, apply concepts, and thinking critically. Now, CK12 is the one that has the answers for all of these. These questions are set up very well, and with that, combined with the worksheets provided, helps with retaining all that information. And this would also be great as review for later on in the book if you're wanting to test knowledge. And then we have our reading assignment. Read chapter 1 of the Evolution Exposed Biology. And this is where it introduces those evolution books. Not sure how I feel about them yet. Okay, so then we go to the next, the study of life. And we have the study of life. That makes it super simple. Uses offspring, maintains homeostasis. Don't worry, I'll explain what that means in a minute. I love that they added that. Don't worry, this is okay. Guest Hollow is a much more approachable textbook than the CK12. I think a lot of it is copy and pasted, but they have broken up this dry monotony of text with a much more friendly approach. And it is a style that I don't typically gravitate to, but my children really do, and I take my cues from them. Not only that, Jennifer and Charles, the owners of Guest Hollow, I've corresponded with them while making this video, and they are just as delightful as this text makes them sound. Thoughtful, eloquent, very funny, and reading it did not feel stilted. It made me feel like I was talking with friends about a very interesting subject. Oh, look, a root word, homeostasis. Homeo, similar, stasis, standing still. Nice. Just for giggles, let's look at evolution, right? Evolution is a change in the characteristics of living things over time. It occurs by a process. What are your opinions on your approach to biology? I'm genuinely curious how other homeschool families have approached this. So if you've already taught biology or you're looking into it for your high schooler or even middle schooler, drop a comment. I'm interested to see how other homeschool families are tackling this. Here is where my insecurity lies when it comes to homeschooling. Is that I don't want my kids to feel like when they graduate that mom pushed her ideas on us, that we never really had a choice. Because then as soon as they get into college, they're going to be like, what? How did I not know this? And, oh, mom hid it from me because she was worried that I couldn't be smart enough to make my own choices. Or mom put it out there in her own biased opinion way, and now I feel stupid because I didn't realize that there were some valid arguments on the other side. This is a good time for us to read what Guest Hollow has posted underneath their secular portion offering for biology. Here at Guest Hollow LLC, we aren't embarrassed about our beliefs, but we are respectful of others who believe differently. We know what it's like to want to find the perfect curriculum, and while we believe our edited textbook isn't likely to be a match for someone who believes in evolution, you can still get some great ideas for activities and reading assignments from us. We want you to have the best year homeschooling with biology and believe that our extras and activities can help you achieve that. These are good people that are trying to offer something that is well-rounded, and I think they've taken a lot of heat from both sides of the aisle from this, and that makes me sad. It wasn't the curriculum and the textbooks that made me uncomfortable. It was the people who can't stand the debate. It is more important that we are kind. Acids, Acids and bases. I really love that it breaks it up with video, I gotta say, because this is a lot of information. I'm a protein called a receptor. My job is to detect signals from the outside. If I had to choose between which curriculum I'd rather read, I'd choose this one. I'd choose Guest Hollow, like 100%. They have so many additional resources and interesting things. And I'm not just saying that because I'm reviewing this and I like them. It's because I'm reviewing this and I like them. This is great. Oh, look. This one has comments. Oh, that's really nice. If you are having trouble with any of the links, you can drop a comment down here at the bottom of the page, and then they will fix it for you. That's great. Photosynthesis, sugar is food. A note to you. Let me give you a warning. A lot of this and other sections of this chapter may come across as a bunch of blah, blah, blah. Just stick with it. Do the best you can. If you don't remember all of it, don't feel bad. Doesn't mean this chapter is worthless. Oh, I think that's funny. She's like, go ask any adult. And I was expecting her to be like, and they'll be able to answer it for you. But she's saying most adults aren't going to understand this. So don't worry about it. I'm just trying to let you know that this stuff can be hard and not everyone's going to get it. And that's okay. I wish she wouldn't say we can't all be biologists, because we can. We can all be biologists. A lot of us just choose not to. God has a special purpose and plan for you, and you may never ever come across the need in your future to know this stuff. Do the best to learn it now. I get what she's saying here. I love encouragement. This is here's the thing. Yeah, there's a lot of things about biology that I don't understand, but I don't think it's because I'm too stupid not to understand it. You know what I mean? I've heard this before in a lot of homeschooling circles. You don't have to do this because you're never going to be a mathematician. You don't have to do this because you're never going to be a scientist. You don't have to do this. Like, you're going to go to trade school because college is hard, you know, like, and I don't like that cop out. If you don't understand the Krebs cycle, that to me is the fault of the curriculum, that you just need to find the person, you need to find the video, you need to find the book that can explain it to you in the way that you understand. But I do think that's very, very generous of them to like come out of this chapter and be like, look, this is a lot. Be generous with yourself. Give yourself lots of grace. It's going to be okay. Like, totally 100% love that. It's a good thing. That looks like earwax. Sorry. These cells are cancer cells. Oh, am I the only one that thinks that picture above is really gross? It is. Earthworms. Okay, so we've skipped an entire chapter over here. Earth forms, life begins. Earth in a day. All right, so this is talking about dating and how dating works. When using this, there's a good possibility that I'm not going to be using the evolution books. It's just not my thing. If you are concerned about not wanting to go through all the lesson objectives one by one, I don't blame you. I would say all of that information covered, that's kind of pieced here and there, taken out, is covered in chapter 9. And so obviously that's all omitted in the Guest Hollow, but it is included in the CK12. And so that gives you a good frame of reference, and you don't have to worry about them not getting something well-rounded. Oh, Pangea, dinosaurs, mammals, Ice Age, biomes. Biome is like a fantastic word to say. Whenever you're in a bad mood, just say biome. Biomes. Okay, so it was really late when I filmed this. Biodiversity crisis is talking about variety of life, discovering new species. I wonder why they took out biodiversity in here. All right, climate change, renewable resources. Why did they take out climate change? Maybe I'm a lot more liberal than I thought I was. I think it's important to know and care for our environment because our coral reefs are dying. They also took the chapters of biodiversity and climate change out, which really threw me off, and I wanted to make a special note for parents. And I'm going to strongly resist the impulse to get on my soapbox and talk about this, because the earth is a gift from God and has been trusted to us to take care of it. And acknowledging, see, I can't even gracefully excuse myself out of this. I just can't. Oh my gosh, these curriculum videos take so long to do. So if this is something that you really enjoyed, hit the subscribe button so I know that this is something I should keep making. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep making funny videos. This is only half the story. Let's take a look at that book list, which is like the best part. Oh my gosh, there are so many of these. All of these are books that I picked up at my library, and obviously they did not have everything, but we're gonna work with what we got. Wicked Bugs, the louse that conquered Napoleon's army and other diabolical insects. Great illustrations. So this is a work of nonfiction, but that is told with the air of a story. So it's not like a textbook. Fever by 1793. And this won a book prize, Lifetime Achievement Literature for Young Adults. The plot rages like the epidemic itself. I have a hard time reading epidemic books or playing the game. Does anybody play the game Pandemic? Ever since the years that will not be named, I can't do it. It's just too upsetting. Michael Crichton, the author of Jurassic Park, the Andromeda Strain. This would be another work of fiction. You know what's brilliant about adding fiction books to hardcore subjects like science, like math? It gives it a different dimension. Jules Verne wrote all of his fiction, science fiction books, and they were all precursor to future scientific fact, but then spurred on this really fantastic development of science, and we can credit a lot of science fiction writers for portions of that. And so I love that they have added these kinds of science fiction books to this selection. All in a Drop of Water, How Antony van Leeuwenhoek Discovered an Invisible World by Laurie Alexander. Clearly there's some dialogue, there's beautiful illustrations here. I love that they have included a variety of reading abilities. So this would be considered a lot younger in my estimation compared to like the Andromeda Strain. So this could be easily worked with, you know, a younger audience as well as an older audience. So because they have such a wide variety of books, that gives you a whole slew of options depending on which grade level you're tackling this on. Extreme Biology, From Superbugs to Clones to Get to the Edge of Science, Bash Your Science. Now I've seen these books. These are kind of like a series. Actually, I think I own Physics, and it's breaking down vocabulary words. So this would be considered a reference book, an interesting reference book. I Contain Multitudes, The Microbes Within Us, and a Grander View of Life by Ed Yong. So this is a nonfiction. You know, what's great about these book lists is that these aren't necessarily books that my kids would pick up. I'm pretty sure this came from the adult side of the library. So I like that diversity book list. Oh, here's another biography, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Doctors took her cells without asking. Those cells never died. They launched a medical revolution in a multi-million-dollar industry. More than 20 years later, her children found out, and their lives would never be the same. Wicked Plants, The Weed That Killed Lincoln's Mother and Other Botanical Atrocities by Amy Stewart. So this looks like either a follow-up or a book from the Wicked Bugs. Same style, has beautiful illustrations inside of it. Actually, honestly, if it was me, what I would do is I would pull up this entire list and I would put it on a table and I'd say, you pick out 3 or 4 of these that you would like to read, because we need to remember that these are supplemental. They're not meant to replace the actual textbooks. They're meant to enrich them. So, and they're phenomenal. They're all really good. Bacteria, A Class of Their Own by Judy Waring. Actually, she had another one. Yeah, here we go. Archaea by David M. Barker. So these are both from the same series, A Class of Their Own. All right, Gregor Mendel, The Friar Who Grew Peas. All right, this is the last one I have, An American Plague, The True and Terrifying Story of Yellow Fever Epidemic of 1793. So this would be in conjunction with Fever 1773. So they kind of have a couple of books that are corresponding. Clearly there's a lot of these, and there's only, I didn't get a chance to borrow all of the books, and obviously I didn't, go over Answers of Genesis or Evolution Exposed or any of those books, mostly because I think people are going to come up with their own opinions regardless of what I think or say about them. But I love the book selection that they have put together that's supplemental. All this to say bringing together a variety of books, be that picture books, be that novels, be that historical fiction, be that nonfiction, be that reference books, bringing these all together just reinforces that, we are living these subjects. They aren't just something that we put in a classroom that's tiny and then we set to the side, or we put together in an office and then we set it aside. No, science is a part of everyday living, and it influences us, wherever we're at. There's so many good things about the Guest Hollow biology curriculum, and there were quite a few things that I didn't necessarily agree with. But what really impressed me with Guest Hollow that no other biology curriculum has is that they have the other side. And that is all kinds of brilliance, because it gives me as a homeschooler more options when I am approaching this. I can have both.
Both is good.
This biology curriculum is completely free, but is not the only fantastic curriculum offered by Guest Hollow. CJ over at Homeschool through High School and Stephanie from Sweetie and Schultz has put together a playlist of all of Guest Hollow's curriculum, and is definitely worth your perusal if you're interested to see what other things Guest Hollow offers. I would check out that playlist right here.